If you're pouring your heart into your podcast, but still struggling to turn those listeners into paying clients, I've got something just for you. Imagine having a clear, simple plan to turn your listeners into buyers without relying on a huge audience or spending hours on social media. That's exactly what we'll create together in a podcast profit plan discovery call. During this free 20-minute call, I'll help you discover more opportunities for profit in your podcast and give you the next best step to turn your show into a client attracting machine. If I've got an offer that will help you expedite this process, then we can also discuss working together. Book your free podcast profit plan discovery call now by going to podcastingformoms.co/profit plan or by clicking the link in the show notes. I can't wait to chat with you. You finally decided you're going to launch a podcast. Yay. But then reality sets in. You have no idea where to start. The tech feels overwhelming. And let's be real, who has time to figure all this out between running a business and chasing after little ones? If that sounds like you are not alone. So many busy moms dream of launching a podcast, but they get stuck in the weeds of all the moving pieces. But guess what? You don't have to do it alone. In today's episode, I'm bringing down exactly why hiring support for your podcast launch is a total game changer, how it saves you time, reduces stress, and sets your show up for success from day one. Plus, I'll share the different types of podcasting support that you can hire and what to look for when you bring on someone to your team. So if you're ready to launch your podcast the right way without the tech headaches or overwhelm, grab your coffee, pop in your earbuds, and let's get started. Welcome to Podcasting for Moms, the show for moms in business ready to start, grow, and scale a podcast that turns their listeners into buyers. I'm Jenny Soneson, a podcast strategist and fellow mom entrepreneur. You're in the right place if you want to learn how to start and grow a podcast that attracts your ideal clients and really does the heavy lifting for you when it comes to selling your offers, all while balancing life as a busy mom. Are you ready to create a podcast that grows your income, impact, and influence? Let's make podcasting work for you because as moms, we know how to get things done. All right, let's jump into the episode. Hey there, welcome back to Podcasting for Moms, the go-to show for busy moms who want to start, grow, and scale their podcasts without the stress. I'm your host, Jenny, and today we're talking about something that can completely change the game when it comes to launching your podcast, and that is hiring support. If you've been dreaming of launching a podcast, but you keep pushing it on the back burner because you feel like you just don't have the time, the tech skills, or energies to figure it all out on your own, this episode is for you. Today, I'm going to walk you through the common struggles of launching a podcast on your own, the huge benefits of getting help, the different types of podcasting support you can hire, and what to look for when you bring someone onto your team. So if you're a busy mom who wants to launch your podcast the right way, without wasting time, feeling overwhelmed, or making common newbie mistakes, then stick around and let's get into it. So first, let's start with the reality of trying to DIY your podcast launch. Launching a podcast is so exciting, but it also comes with a big learning curve. When you try to do it all yourself, you might find yourself spending hours researching how to set up your podcast, but still feeling unsure if you're doing it right. Or maybe you're feeling completely overwhelmed by the tech. What microphone do you get? How do I edit episodes? Where do I even upload them? Or you're trying to create everything from scratch, your cover art, your show notes, your intro music, while juggling your pre-existing business, your kids, and your personal life. Or maybe you're rushing to launch with no strategy, no audience building plan, and no real way to get your podcast in front of the right people. And let's be real, when we're already managing all the things, figure out how to launch podcasts to our never-ending to-do list can feel kind of impossible. If this sounds like you, let me tell you something. You don't have to do it alone. Hiring the right support can make your podcast launch stress-free, professional, and most of all, successful. So let's talk about how hiring support can make your podcast launch feel easier, faster, and more effective. So number one, it saves you time. Imagine skipping the late night Google searches, the frustration of learning new software, and the endless back and forth trial and error. When you hire a professional, you can focus on recording great content while they handle the rest. Number two, it reduces stress and overwhelm. You don't have to worry about figuring out your podcast tech, formatting your show notes, or getting everything set up properly. Your support team takes care of that for you. Number three, it ensures a professional, polished launch. High quality audio, great branding, and strategic promotion make all the difference in launching a podcast. Having a pro handle your cover art, your music, and editing means your podcast sounds polished from day one. Number four, it increases your chances of long-term success. The sad reality is that a lot of new podcasters quit after just a few episodes. But when you launch with a clear plan, you're much more likely to stay consistent, grow your audience, and ultimately see results. And number 5, you get expert guidance. You don't have to figure out everything on your own. When you hire a podcast launch strategist or a manager, you get someone who knows the best practices, understands how to grow a podcast, and can guide you through the entire process. Hiring support isn't about spending money, it's about investing in a smooth, successful podcast launch process that saves you time, energy, and frustration in the long run. So now you might be wondering, okay, this sounds great, but what kind of help do I actually need? So there's quite a few different types of podcast support available. I'm going to go through each one in terms of like who you can hire. And then also I'm going to talk about more done with you versions, not just done for you, because done with you can be really great too if you're not able to hire out done for you support. So first up, we have a podcast launch coach or consultant. They help you with the strategy, keep you accountable, and provide expert feedback throughout your launch. Then we have a podcast manager. So they handle everything from editing to scheduling and publishing your episodes. Most podcast managers also handle podcast launches too. So you kind of get that coach, consultant, and podcast manager wrapped into one thing. The next one is a podcast editor. This is mainly where they're focusing on editing your show. So they're cleaning up your audio, adding intro, outro music, and ensuring your episodes sound professional. Then we have a virtual assistant for podcasts. So a VA for podcasts helps with show notes, scheduling, guest outreach, and social media. Kind of everything that a podcast manager would do, but they're not as specialized as a podcast manager. If you're on a budget, you might start with hiring an editor or a VA just for podcast tasks. But if you want a fully done for you experience, a podcast manager or launch consultant can be a complete game changer. So what should we look for when we are deciding to hire support? So before you hire someone, whether that is in a done for you capacity or done with you capacity, here's a few things to look for. So number 1, you want to make sure they have experience with podcasting, not just general virtual assistants, but actual experience with podcast production and strategy. Number 2, you want to make sure they understand your niche and audience. So you want someone who knows your ideal listeners and can help you position your show effectively. Number 3, they have clear pricing and deliverables, so you know exactly what you're getting and what's included. Number 4, they have testimonials or past client work. Look for reviews, samples, or case studies so you can determine if this person gets their people results. And number 5, good communication and workflow compatibility. You'll be working closely with this person, so make sure that they align with your work style. Hiring the right support can mean the difference between a stressful, drawn-out launch and a smooth, successful one. If you've been thinking about launching a podcast, but you're overwhelmed with all the moving pieces, I want you to know that help is available and you don't have to do this alone. And hiring the right support can save you hours of stress while ensuring your podcast gets off to an amazing start. If you're looking for someone to guide you through a simple, stress-free podcast launch, I would love to help. I have a couple different options for you. I have my done for you options. So I have a podcast launch VIP week where we work together on all the things strategy and production to get your podcast launched. Or I have my standard launch package, which is a 6-week process where we essentially do all the same things in the podcast launch VIP week. It's just on a longer timeline. If you're listening to this episode the same week that it went live, I am also currently enrolling for my Done With You program, which is my podcast launch accelerator, which is a 7-day experience to help you get your podcast launched. You will get a lot of one-on-one support. So if you want to learn more about that program and you're listening to this episode the week that it goes live, check out my podcast launch accelerator by going to podcastingformoms.co/accelerator, and you'll learn more about what all that entails. But if you prefer a more done for you approach, then either my podcast launch VIP week or my standard podcast launch package would be a better fit for you. I'll make sure to link everything in the show notes so you can go check it out and see which option is the right fit for you at this time. If you have any questions, make sure to DM me on Instagram at Podcasting for Moms, or you can check out the links in the show notes to learn more. I would love to support you with your podcast and make your podcasting dreams a reality. And if you found this episode helpful, please DM me over on Instagram at Podcasting for Moms. I love to chat more with you and learn more about you and your potential podcast idea and see how I can support you. Until next time, happy podcasting. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning into Podcasting for Moms. I hope today's episode gave you the tools and inspiration you need to make your podcast work smarter, not harder. If you love what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It means the world and helps other moms in business find the show. For more tips, resources, and support, head to podcastingformoms.co. Remember, you're not just building a podcast, you're building your legacy. Until next time, friends.